Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Downloadable Brain. It's me, your guy Brain44, and I'm coming at you with a new episode. Today, I want to talk a little bit about authenticity, specifically in entertainment. Now, as an independent person who does things on my own, I don't answer to any labels, I don't answer to a talent manager, I don't really answer to anybody but myself. So everything I'm saying that comes out of my music, everything I'm doing that comes out of my podcast, everything I'm saying that comes out in my other YouTube channel where I talk psychology and I dabble in other subjects like tarot. It's all me just saying what I'm saying with nobody telling me what to say or what to do. And I see that as both a good thing and a bad thing because we need to make money and support ourselves, right? But you have these people who just randomly come across you on the internet and they don't know you, but you also don't know them. So you have one group of people judging the person who's creating the things. Then you have the creator judging the people who are negative and talking shit all the time, right? But it could be a bit of a double edged sword in a sense that if you look at a famous person who has made it, who has the record labels, people who get television time, actors, actresses, people on the news, people in the media, people who write reports and things like that, they all have bosses to answer to and they're told what to say. So it's somewhat scripted, right? It has to be. And they have to support themselves, they have to support the families that they're creating. So I can understand that. And I'm not shaming anybody. But if being authentic and telling the truth is so damn hard, maybe I would just rather not listen. And I think it would be more respectful for me to pull back and say, okay, I know this person is lying. I know this person is being fake. I know this person's being deceptive. And I know that this person is almost trying to embarrass somebody else. Now, am I saying it's me personally? Of course not. I would never say that because I'm not famous. I'm not on a record label. So why would a famous person discuss me, right? But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I remember when I first started sending out demos to labels, how much I wanted it. And I didn't give a fuck who I did business with. I just wanted a label to sign me. And in 2026, I'm much better than I was in 2017, but now I'm looking at the whole business kind of differently. Is it all bad? Do you think all people wish bad things for you? It depends, I guess. Who gets in their ear and talks to them? Who wants to sabotage you? Because I told the story on my channel about a situation where I could have went on to one of those music talent shows and auditioned. And I did send an email to the people who scout out talent for that show. And they responded to me in the email. They said, your music is brilliant. We love what you're doing. We would love to have you out for a show, for an audition, I mean. So they said, what would you be doing to audition for the show? I said, just get me a basic guitar rig and maybe some sort of sound setup for a backtrack, and I'll come audition for the show. And I wasn't even a vocalist at the time, but they still liked my playing as a musician. So everybody was on board for me to come out for the audition, but auditions are big on these shows. You have hundreds of people coming out on the same day. And I got an email back about a week later with some dumbass explanation saying that I was no longer allowed to go on the audition because they had too many slots. But you already told me you wanted me to come out, and I was on board for that. The audition would have been in Toronto. I would have went. I would have found a way to get myself there, and I would have auditioned gladly. But instead, they said, "Oh, we don't want you on the show because the spots are full." And I thought, okay, maybe that's true. They just get a lot of people and it's busy. But then I did some digging, and I don't know if people will believe me or not, but I did some digging on this, and I discovered that somebody got a phone call, specifically the people who were scouting talent. from somebody who holds a position of power higher than them. And they said it was a call from the higher ups claiming that I'm not allowed to go on the show, but you've never met me. You don't know who I am. Why are you saying that? Did somebody spread gossip or rumors about me? Did somebody post something fake and false about me on the internet? Did somebody pretend to be me and impersonate me? Because you have some weird people on the internet, and you have people who would do crazy things for clout and attention and money. And I almost asked myself, what kind of lies, deceptions, and smears were said and done behind my back in order to influence a person who holds a higher position to make a phone call and say, I can't come on the show? Because those kind of lies would fuck up your entire career before you even got your foot in the door. But I never gave up making music. I never gave up working on myself and developing creativity and talent. The only thing that happened was somebody smeared my name so bad that anytime anybody said anything about me, it was negative. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Because even some of the people who were being negative, they admitted to me that they think I'm good and they like what I'm doing. But they also admitted to me that they're jealous of me, they're envious of me, and they don't want to see me do well in life. Like, what the fuck? Okay, I can think of some people who I wouldn't want to see do well, but why would I waste time with that? Like, as a musician myself. And I guess sometimes there's people who you don't want to cheer on, you don't want to see do well. And I can relate to that because there's some real assholes in the business who maybe I think look like they're great people on television, but then you get a close encounter with them and they're not who you thought they were. Now, I'm not talking about anybody that I've even mentioned on my channel. There's some people I respect and some people I could never respect, but the lesson in authenticity is, yeah, you have a boss. Yeah, you have a script to follow. Yeah, you need to do things the way your manager, label, if you're on television, network executive tells you to do. You have to do things by their rules. But if you're just doing things to fuck with people and to be disrespectful all the time, it's like, wow, so that's your energy. Would you want to go meet that person? Well, he's got a lot of money. He does well for communities. He's got charities. Yeah, but he was a total jerk on television. Why would you want to meet somebody like that? Or maybe it's a character, and then you meet the person and they're nothing like you thought they were. So it's a bit of a double edged sword, but it's almost like being authentic, being generous, and wanting to see people do well in an entertainment business is punished. And being phony, being fake, chasing clout, being mean, cruel, and evil is rewarded. Now, nobody understands the concept of clapbacks and psychological warfare more than me because I had constant negative feedback, constant negative, jealous people, people who didn't want to see me have anything, but people who also talked about me. And then they claim my success as their own. And that's not how life works. I've been working my ass off on this stuff for my entire life. Music is never something that you come into overnight, but you just have jealous, envious crybabies who are whining, bitching, hating, and they all get together in group chats like little bitches and pussies. And they whine and sulk about why they can't destroy your life because they're bored. Now, it would be something like a total loser or just hateful person who has no purpose and hates themselves to sit back and do that. But I can't imagine anybody famous doing it. And if they did, wow, how sad must their life be because it looks so great. Looks like they got it together. But I don't got shit the way I'm looking at it. And that's where positivity and embracing what you're thankful for comes into play because I'm thankful for my talent and everything I've always worked for, but I'm looking at people in the business and I'm like, fuck, I don't got shit. But then I have to relay that story again about the higher up making that phone call. And I have to also mention that there's a lot of crazy fucks and mentally ill people who might try to impersonate me just because they're bored and they want to get a rise out of me, or they want to actually destroy my career. And I've seen groups of people do it to others before. I'm not going to say who it is, but there was one famous guy who they tried to take down and he came back in the end. I'm not going to say who it is. Now, I want to end this podcast episode by saying one more thing about authenticity. It's about a specific person who works in the media, and I'm not going to say who the guy is. You would never expect it. He never seemed like a bad guy, just a guy who reports the news, does what he's told. But one thing he said in particular, it was like a sort of piece where I guess there was a script to follow, and the person on the other end of the script, who he was interviewing, seemed to just want the clout, the attention, the recognition, the success, and the fame, which is understandable because we all want that. But then you have the guy who's interviewing him, and you can tell the guy was truly authentic. And he shared he shared something very vulnerable about himself, a personal story. And I saw into his soul, and I realized, wow, that guy's still got a soul. It's not that he ever presented himself to be bad. He has a boss and a script to follow to a certain extent. But I really saw into this guy's soul, and I said, wow, that guy still has emotions. He still is vulnerable. He's empathetic in certain situations. And he told a story that resonated with me a lot. And I never looked at that man the same again after he did that. So that's a strong lesson on authenticity. But then you have these giddy, witty clown weirdos who think just being mean, disrespectful, and bullying people and putting others down all the time is the key to success. And you can do whatever the fuck you want. But if that's your kind of energy, if I ever did sign to a label or somebody ever did put me on the map one day, it's very unlikely I want to go on a bully show because I've seen what the bully does. He picks on people. That's how he gets his attention. That's how he gets his clout. So even if it helps me out to go on that, what's the point unless I had a personal vendetta? And I would probably leave it all in the music regarding that if I ever did have a message to convey. And much like a lot of the cowards in the business who fuck with people but can't publicly acknowledge that they're fucking with them, I guess I would do the same with my music because that's what you're doing. But I don't devote myself to that, and it doesn't have to be a war. It's only a war for the person who chooses war and chooses drama, because I'm not dramatic at all and I don't really give a shit. But it has to go back to the higher up making the call, and it has to go back to people impersonating me on the internet, and it has to go back to groups of people hating out of jealousy and being envious, admitting to me they like what I'm doing, but they would rather not see me have it. But then they talk about me and they claim my opportunities as theirs, and that's not going to work for me. So it's a fine lesson on authenticity, and I'm not going anywhere. I don't plan on giving up. I heard a lot of people, like these haters, they wanted me to get off the internet, but I'm happy, I'm abundant, I'm healthy, I've never felt better. And having that positive state of mind, even when you don't know what the hell you're going to do to eat 3 meals a day, which is where I'm at now. I don't give up, I don't quit. And I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like I'm working for free every day. And I gotta say, it's probably due to people pretending to be me on the internet, people saying things that aren't true behind my back, and the damage that smear campaigns do without including a person. But this gives thrills to the person who demands conflict and requires it because they're a drama queen and a little bit of a freak and a weirdo. It's just, you can leave me out of your mess if you're so jealous and envious of me. And if you had a personal problem with me, you best keep it to yourself. And if it affects my ability to make money, maybe I'll figure out a way to sabotage you as well. I don't know. I'm not like somebody who has power or somebody who can do things to affect your money. Maybe I can just call a spade a spade. Sometimes that's all you got to do. And whether people admit that somebody's full of shit in the business or not, and an asshole and a liar and a bully, or they admit that they're just there to get money and clout like everybody else. What it all comes down to is authenticity never hurts. And I saw into the soul of that one person, and I realized that vulnerability and empathy still exist, even with people who are in a tough competitive business where sometimes they gotta say things that are unpopular, and sometimes they have to put themselves in situations that aren't the best situations. But I saw into that guy's soul and I said, wow, that guy's real. And I'll never tell you who it is, but if he ever listened to it, maybe he would know who he was. Have a good one. Until next time, it's Brain 44.